Hey ladies, so you just figured out the location in the city of your wedding, but now it's time to find the actual wedding venue where the real marriage is going to be starting and happening. So I'm going to be using the terms church and wedding venue, the wedding ceremony venue, kind of interchangeably. And we're also in this section going to be talking about the officiant of your wedding. So I'll be using the term officiant and pastor interchangeably as well. So if you are going to be having your wedding ceremony at a church, you first need to find out if outside officiants are allowed, if you're wanting to bring in a pastor. For example, we had our wedding in Indiana at James's childhood church that he grew up in. But we flew in his pastor from California that doubled as his mentor, best friend, plus his pastor. So we flew him in. So obviously we had to find out from the Indiana church if outside officiants were allowed. And they were, as long as they were taking us through premarital counseling. So we passed because, of course, we were going through premarital counseling with his pastor, and so we were able to have an outside officiant for our wedding. So definitely you need to make sure that your wedding venue for your wedding reception and your ceremony is what we're talking about in this section, that is reserved, because that is the first detail that definitely needs pinned down. Because every other vendor that you get is going to be determined on what your wedding date is, and you obviously have to have a wedding ceremony in order for there to be other vendors needed. So get your wedding date pinned down as well as the wedding ceremony venue. And you can also use a judge. Someone else could be ordained. Maybe you have a family member or friend who is ordained as well, and they could absolutely officiate your wedding. Just make sure that a contract is signed for the church and that the deposit is put down. It might not be a whole lot of money. It might be a couple $100 to $500 for the deposit for your wedding ceremony venue. If it's a church, now if it's a different establishment, like a business for events, then that will be a different story. So if your wedding is not going to be held in an actual church building, then we need to talk a little bit more details about the date and the time. So if you're not going to be in a church, some event centers have cheaper prices in the off season of weddings. So main wedding season is obviously spring, summer, fall, with summer being the bulk of it. So maybe a ceremony venue is cheaper in the winter and you could save some money there. So I just want to warn you that when you're deciding the time for your wedding though, you don't really want to make it too early in the day, because you're going to have to get up way early in order to get ready for the wedding. If you're getting photos taken before the wedding as well, then you are really pushing it back and you're going to have to get up super early. So for us, we had our wedding at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was so perfect. So I really recommend having a late afternoon wedding right when the ceremony gets over. Then everyone can go to the reception venue and start dinner. It is perfect timing, and then you don't have that awkward wait time. Because if you have it early afternoon, then guests are like, okay, what do I need to do? Or how can I waste some time until dinner time for the reception? Especially guests that live out of town, that have traveled in for your wedding. They may have nowhere to go in the meantime, so they just sit at the reception venue for 2 or 3 hours until dinner. And that can cause an issue if you're wanting to have your wedding photos taken after your ceremony and before the reception, because then your out-of-town guests just sit at the reception venue and don't know what to do. So like I said, our ceremony started at 4 p.m. and that was a perfect time. It was ideal to wrap up right before dinner time. If you are having your wedding outside, I highly recommend to not have your wedding right in the heat of the day. That is not a good idea. Otherwise, you're going to definitely be needing tents for your guests to sit under just so they have some shade so no one passes out. Sometimes morning weddings are also cheaper if the venue allows multiple weddings in one day. So you could have a wedding in the morning if you want to save money, but obviously you're going to have to get up way early in order to get ready for your wedding, so take that into account. Now, questions as far as questions for the church or the wedding venue. These are some things you're going to want to ask. So what steps do you need to take in order to reserve the church for your wedding day? Is there a contract to sign? Like I say throughout this whole class, it is so vital to make sure you have contracts signed, have things in writings and things you can reference. What are the steps to reserving a pastor as our officiant for our wedding day? So, additionally, are outside officiants allowed? What is the church rental fee amount? And what forms of payment do you accept? Does the pastor offer premarital counseling sessions? These are so vital to a healthy marriage, so I highly recommend you go through premarital counseling, and I even have a section about premarital counseling in this course. I highly recommend it. It is so imperative. Do you have a keyboardist or pianist available to be reserved for our wedding ceremony, or vocalist singers? Additionally, you can ask them, looking at the items on our list that we need to rent, which of these items are available to rent or use from the church? So sometimes the church will have items you can use for free or for a very small cost, that you could be using a kneeling bench if you need one of those, unity candles, certain tables and tablecloths for the guest book, for example, a card collection box as guests are arriving for your wedding, the guest book stand, maybe some lanterns for the aisle, candelabras, an archway or pedestals for the altar, a podium for the officiant, microphones, microphone stands, speakers, the keyboard, piano, guitar, all of that fun stuff. Do they have those pieces of equipment or items available for use or for rental? How many hours are you able to rent the church for your wedding day? So for us, we were able to get into the church at noon, and we had to be out of the building by 6 p.m. So please make sure that you know what the time frame is that you're allowed to be in the building, as you will have to adjust your wedding photos and the getting ready time accordingly. What time are you able to unlock the church for us to start getting ready? And do you lock up the church afterwards? Are we able to host our wedding reception at the church? And if so, is music, food, and dancing allowed in that room? As some churches do not allow those things in their church. Are we able to host our rehearsal dinner at the church following rehearsal? So for our rehearsal dinner, we actually were able to have it at the church, and we just walked across the hall right after rehearsal ended and began our rehearsal dinner. It was very convenient. What are the rules regarding alcohol at the church? So, for example, there are some bridesmaids that want to have mimosas while they're getting ready before the wedding, but lots of times this is not allowed in churches, so just be aware of the rules. Do you have sound technicians available to play audio tracks for us during the wedding? So, are there people familiar with the church's audio equipment that are able to play the songs or the tracks, the instrumental tracks for you during your wedding? Do they offer filming of your ceremony? So our church that we had our wedding in was a big church, and they live streamed their services. So they had all of the equipment and cameras ready to film our wedding. It was phenomenal. It had all the angles. It was perfect. Do they offer live streaming of your wedding? Like I just talked about, some churches have all that equipment and they do that on a weekly basis. So they may have technicians that are able to live stream your wedding, which is awesome for guests that can't make it or people that aren't traveling in for your wedding. Are there rooms for the guys and girls to get ready in before the wedding? If so, are there full-length mirrors in those rooms? And is food allowed in those rooms for those snacks that you're wanting to bring in? Not messy snacks, but light food. Is there an area for nursing mothers or crying babies in case you don't want those little precious ones interrupting your ceremony? Hopefully there would be a room for those mothers to take those babies to that quiet room, as I have heard some babies crying during a whole wedding ceremony, and that is really hard for the bride and groom to concentrate. And finally, does the pastor take care of sending off the marriage license? So those are some questions you can ask your church or the church you're going to be getting married at, or some of those questions apply to venues that are not churches. So please get all of those answers that you're needing, and then feel free to continue to the next section where we will talk all about the officiant of your wedding. All right, so let's continue on with more details regarding the officiant of your wedding and a few extra details regarding the ceremony itself. So I quickly just want to make sure that you're aware that churches and other event centers for wedding ceremonies can book up so far in advance, it is crazy. So I really hope that you get on top of things and get this scheduled right away, because you could honestly encounter an issue where if you're wanting a summer wedding, it might already be full for next summer and have weddings scheduled for every single weekend, depending on what your venue is. So obviously that's not the case for every church, but for certain event centers, that is absolutely the case. So make sure you get on finding your ceremony venue and your reception venue, but definitely make sure that you get that date nailed down, as you can't book other vendors until you know the date of your wedding and have a venue reserved for it. So please make a big effort to start narrowing down your options. That way you can start moving ahead with wedding plans regarding the other vendors. So I just wanted to give you a warning that you may have a more challenging time getting the exact summer date that you're wanting, as summer is a very popular time for weddings. So try to plan as fast as you can with these first major details, including the venue. So it helps when you can have an officiant for your wedding that you personally know and have a connection with. Additionally, there are several different questions you need to be asking yourself to see if that officiant is going to be right for you. So do you want a deeply emotional and meaningful ceremony, or would you rather have something short and sweet and not as personal? So that will matter if you know this officiant and they know a lot about you, or if it's a total stranger. So in regards to your ceremony, we talk about all of this later in other sections, all about designing the order of your wedding ceremony. But a few questions that you can start thinking on and brainstorming would be, are there any special songs, poems, readings of scripture, or sermons that you would like included in your ceremony? Are there any mini ceremonies or rituals you'd like to add in your ceremony, like a sand ceremony or a unity candle? So you can give all these details to the officiant way later on, as we designed our wedding ceremony and talked about it with our officiant on the last session of our premarital counseling. So you have all the time in the world to decide on the outline of the ceremony itself. I just wanted you to start brainstorming all of this information. So there was additionally a church coordinator for our wedding. The church had a specific gal dedicated to helping brides organize their weddings with all the details regarding the church. So we had phone calls, like conference calls, with me, my fiance at the time, now my husband, and my mom and his mom and the church venue coordinator. So that is very helpful when you can have check-in phone calls like that with the church as time progresses. But like I mentioned, we brought in an outside officiant. So we didn't use a pastor from the church where we got married. James and I actually flew in his pastor from Los Angeles because he had been best friends and he was his mentor as well. Pastor Anthony was James's mentor. And so it was very meaningful, and that was one of James's wishes for the wedding. So questions for you and your fiance regarding the officiant of your wedding. Do you guys have a connection to a religious leader, a pastor, a mentor that you know well and you would like to officiate your wedding, as that is a big deal and a huge honor? Would you even feel comfortable having someone that you don't know very well officiate your wedding? Would that be weird, or would you even prefer that? Or do you have any friends or family members ordained that would be able to officiate your wedding? So questions and items and details you can discuss with the pastor or officiant of your wedding would be to first establish, is your ceremony going to be religious or non-religious? Also, what is the officiant's service and travel fee? So obviously we paid for Pastor Anthony to travel in for the wedding. That is going to be an extra expense for you. Are there any special arrangements or accommodations for the officiant? So what is your ideal ceremony length? You'll want to talk about this with the officiant. So I've been to some weddings that are 2 hours long, and I've been to a wedding that's 20 minutes long. You can talk about basic ideas for the order of the ceremony with your officiant. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't actually have the in concrete order of our ceremony until maybe a month and a half before our wedding, so you don't have to have all those details right now. You can talk with your officiant about how emotional or personal you want the ceremony to be. You can chat with your officiant about important details regarding your relationship. That way the pastor, the officiant, can incorporate those details into the wedding sermon and make it more customized for you two. You can chat about possible readings to include in the ceremony, different song or music ideas, as well as prayers, sermons, popular messages that you could incorporate. He or she may have a lot of great recommendations for you. Are you going to be including a sand ceremony, communion? Are you going to light candles? Is there going to be a salvation call? We talk about all of this in a future section in this course, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a rundown of items you can talk with your officiant about. Are you going to have self-written vows or pre-written vows, like from a template? Will the officiant read from a book, binder, or folder, and what will the officiant wear? When would the officiant like to review the final ceremony draft in order to have enough time to change it, revise it, or give final approval? And then you'll want to talk with your officiant about the time for your ceremony rehearsal and rehearsal dinner, as they will definitely be needing to be at those events. So obviously I just gave you a lot of information regarding the church and the officiant. The main thing is you need to get on this fairly fast, as everything else that you schedule and book and reserve is going to fall around the wedding date that you choose. And obviously you have to have an officiant to make your wedding legal. So these are important details, and please choose an officiant that you really love and that you have a connection with and you feel is really going to make the wedding personalized for you two, because it is your wedding day. You don't have to have a cookie cutter wedding ceremony. Make it fun, make it customized for you, and if your officiant knows you really well, they will do a phenomenal job at making it feel like your wedding and not just some random wedding. So hopefully this helps you and gives you a little bit of clarity on details regarding booking a wedding ceremony venue and the officiant. So sometimes the wedding ceremony venue is in the same building as the reception venue. If so, that is awesome. But some people definitely want their ceremony in a church and the reception in a separate site or a different event center. So there are lots of things to consider, a lot of details to work out, and a lot of conversations to be had between you and your fiance, and then conversations to be had with the church or the wedding ceremony venue and possible officiants that you have in mind. If you have a pastor that has pastored over you for years, obviously this makes it a very easy choice for you. So thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to head to the next section.
Beyond that, y'all, we don't just do life and relationship videos. We have our bonus Fridays where we put up life and relationship videos. We feel led to do a Friday video. But also, if you go to jamesandjazz.com, click on that videos tab, it'll scroll you down to 3 different sections of videos that we film. We do spiritual videos on Monday, where we've done topical stuff. Right now, we're actually doing Bible study with all the book of James. Now we're in the book of John. Then we'll go into another book, and so on and so forth as we feel led. So I think you'll really enjoy some of the spiritual videos that we have, and it'll help you to grow spiritually. We want to help you to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically.
And relationally.
Which leads me to the second topic, is physically fit videos. And we're trying to help you to get in shape, to work out. If you're planning for a wedding, you still got to get those workouts in. That'll help you to have more energy and just feel better about yourself. So whatever you're doing in life, it's so important to do your body a favor and work out. And I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of time. Maybe you don't want to drive to the gym. Well, we've done a lot of stuff right here at the house in our studio here. We've done workouts with dumbbells, workouts with resistance bands, cardio in place. We've done a little bit of kettlebell stuff. So we're showing you how you can work out at home with the equipment that you have. They are full-length workouts, so you work out with us, and then there's also instructional videos where we show you the exercises quickly. You can take notes and do it on your own time. But I think that these videos will bless you. And then on our final section, our final tab when you click on videos is that life and relationships. As I said already, that is our bonus Friday videos where we talk about what's going on in our life, which the wedding was going on in our lives, and that also relates to relationship stuff. So life and relationships is a great tab as well. We have our how we met video in that section, and a lot of other different stuff. We have our wedding, we have our proposal, bachelorette party, all that different stuff. So you guys can learn a little bit about us and what we've done in life. And beyond that, when you're on our homepage, just if you scroll to the top of the bottom, you're going to see our social media links. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to follow and like, and YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. And when you scroll to the bottom of the page, you're going to see our subscribe to our email list. Encourage you to do that so you can see when new courses come out, because I think she's thinking about working on new courses.
Yes.
And you can also, on the bottom of that homepage, you can book us to come and speak at speaking engagement. We look at chapels at Christian schools, and maybe you want us to come and put on a workout somewhere, or speak at a Christian retreat, whatever it may be,
or
a conference. Yeah, we would love to do that. So just send us the details in the book us section. And anything I'm missing, my love?
Yeah, if you would like to partner with us, we would appreciate all of your prayer for our ministry. And then you can also partner with us financially if you feel led. No obligation, but on our website, jamesandjazz.com, there's a tab up at the top that says donate, and it instructs you on how you can donate via PayPal, Patreon, or Venmo. So thank you. Every little bit helps. And yeah, we love you guys, and we hope that this video encourages you to plan the wedding of your dreams stress-free to your dream man, and it's going to be great. Enjoy.
All right, take her easy, y'all.